Hi, it's David Ostriker here in Karmiel. Some 3,000 years ago, the Hittites ruled Turkey. They were known as the nation of 1,000 gods, and they had 165 festivals. Virtually every other day was a holiday. We here have one God, but we seem to have many festivals. You know, in the last month, we have had Pesach Sheni, we've had 30 days of Omer, we've had 4 Shabboses, we've had Yom Ha'atzmaut, Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron. Today is Yom Yerushalayim. It celebrates 53 years ago when Yerushalayim was once again united under Jewish sovereignty and Jewish law. It was a great day. And Jews, religious and non-religious, celebrated with a great overwhelming of the heart. It's very important. This week's Parsha BaMidbar, has a very interesting Haftorah. I'm going to tie all this together, and you may hear background noise because my neighbors are, thank God, celebrating Yom Yerushalayim with a barbecue. This week's Parsha is from Hosea, and the prophet in the previous chapter tells God, if the Jews don't live up to their obligations, you can kick them out of the land and replace them. That's basically it. I'm going to paraphrase, so excuse me if I do. God tells the prophet to go and marry a harlot. Strange command for a prophet, for a holy person. He does. And we're told that he begets a child, that his wife begets a child. It doesn't mention Hosea in the begetting, by the way. It just says she begets a child. And God says, call this one Jezreel, because in that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. I will do damage to Israel. I will destroy Israel. Shortly after, she conceives again, and she has another child, a girl. This one, God says, name her Lo Rechama, without mercy, without kindness, without love. Lo. Shortly after, she conceives one more time. And this one, God says, name this boy Lo Ami, not my people. Not my people. Time passes, and God tells the prophet, abandon your wife, abandon the children, send them away. Send them away. The prophet protests. They're my children. God says, maybe not. She's a harlot. Who knows whose children they are? But the prophet protests. And God says, you complain about this? With these children who you don't even know where they came from? And my children, Judah and Israel? Those are my children, the sons of Abraham, of Yitzchak, of Yaakov. You expect me to send them away? And suddenly the prophet's eyes are opened. And he understands. And he says, at the end of the Haftorah, and again I'm paraphrasing a bit, God says, I will betroth me forever. And I will betroth you to me, meaning the Jewish people, with righteousness, with justice, with loving kindness, and with mercy. Rachama. And the earth shall answer the corn and the wine and the oil, and they shall answer Jezreel, planted in the valley of Jezreel. And I will sow her for me in the land, and I will have compassion, Rachama, not Lo Rachama, Rachama, upon the unpitied one. And I will say to them that are not my people, you are my people. And they shall say, you are my God. So what is important here? Rachama, lo rachama, ami, lo ami. What's important here is how we use words. So today is the 53rd anniversary of the return of Yerushalayim to the Jewish people. A close friend of mine has originally said, thank God for the gift of Yerushalayim. I said, thank God for the brave warriors who fulfilled God's will and took the gift from God, from Hashem, Yerushalayim. But now in Israel, there's a huge debate going on. To annex, not to annex. Deal of a century, Trump, Bibi, Gantz, blue and white, Likud, Jordan Valley, the settlements. Annex, not to annex. This is a very dangerous discussion. You cannot occupy your own apartment. You cannot annex your living room. They are yours. Israel cannot annex the settlements. Okay, historically we know that all this land was given to the Jewish people, but the history is much more recent. This year, on April 25th, was the 100th anniversary of the declaration of the San Remo Agreement. San Remo Agreement. In 1920, the victorious nations of the First World War, Britain, France, England, Italy, Japan, who else? I left somebody else. Gathered together in San Remo, Italy. Right? Italy was one of them. And decided how to divide up the Ottoman and German empires that had existed prior to the war. And from this experience was created Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and of all places, Israel. San Remo Agreement in 1920 recognized that this little piece of land we call Israel must be set aside as a homeland for the Jewish people. Even Faisal I said this was a good idea in writing to Chaim Weizmann. And so it was put into international law that this province of the Ottoman Empire would forever be the homeland of the Jewish people. Zionist dream fulfilled. Not only was it engraved in stone, so to speak, as was the Balfour Declaration included in the San Remo Agreement, it was recommitted to by the League of Nations and entrenched in the Charter of the United Nations, even prior to the vote at the United Nations for the State of Israel. And this land was the land of Israel. Now, in the War of Independence, 1948, Israel lost part of the mandate that was given to it, Judea and Samaria. On the Israeli side of the Jordan River, to Jordan. It won much. It was a painful war, but did lose those sections. 20 years later, 1967, on this day, Yom Yerushalayim, it wasn't just Yerushalayim we got back. We got back a great deal. And among them, the lost territories of Judea and Samaria returned to Israel. And now, nobody talks about the annexation of Syria, of Lebanon, of Iraq, but Israel, when Israel gets back the land that the mandate gave it, suddenly we're annexing it. And so we should put an end to this phrase, to annex. What we should be saying is, we are applying Israeli law to Israeli territory. Judea and Samaria, the Jordan Valley, etc. And these are my thoughts on this day, on this Yom Yerushalayim. Annexation is a false word and does not apply here. Application of Jewish law does and should continue. And it is this little piece of land in this huge Middle East that is put aside for the Jewish people. Let's cherish it, this Yom Yerushalayim. And let's remember, in a few days when Shavuot comes, that although it is remembered for Matan Torah, it is also remembered especially for the harvest of the land of Israel itself. Shabbat Shalom, Yom Yerushalayim Sameach, Good Yontif for Shavuos. And that's a dog named Zeus barking behind me. He's saying Shabbat Shalom too. Bye-bye.